Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Hello?
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm hungry. Hold on.
What are you eating?
What's up? I started devouring a Subway.
I can, you can tell. Subway's pretty good. I like Subway,
Mm.
unlike some people.
I mean, we live in America, right?
Yeah, I live in America.
Yeah, Subway in America is really bad.
Okay. What do you mean?
No, well, I lived in States, right? And I went to Subway there, and it's the bread and the veggies and everything is so much worse.
Okay, that is fair. All of our food is on like unregulated or like regulated to the most bullshit, like whatever. Like not like they. I feel like they don't even grow the vegetables. Fucking, like, it's. I hate American food
Yeah.
standard. It's so bad.
Yup, yup, yup.
Okay. So I'm basically going to just kind of talk about strafing and figure out what you know exactly, and talk about it as a tool to not only improve consistency, but also talk about it as a tool to kind of help a lot of you can legitimately reach Amos's levels of reactivity on MNK, knowing shit about
Yeah.
strafe and knowing a lot of stuff about it. I assume you know Hollow, right? Hollow.
Y- Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen some of his stuff.
He is really good at understanding fundamentals and putting those fundamentals into really, really good practice. Um,
Mhm.
and he's kind of what I reference when I talk a lot about the different things I mentioned. And
Mhm.
overall, how much do you know about strafing overall? Kind of spitball me what you know.
Conceptually, I understand like mirroring, anti-mirroring, like the half motions, whatever.
Yeah, the half
Uh,
sideways, whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I understand like taking space and forcing people into like awkward positions and stuff like that. But
Oh, okay.
like I understand, like I know the theory kind of, but I don't know when I play the game. I can't see the theory in a way that I can put it to use. You
Okay.
know?
Yeah, that is exactly what I'm really good at doing.
Yeah.
So I not only have examples from my own gameplay, I have examples
Mm-mm.
that I can illustrate to you and put and present to you. And strafing is literally like a toolkit. It is a big box of things that you will learn how to use, and there's a lot of different things you can use. And realizing the
Mhm.
situation in which we want to use them is important. So you can see my screen, right? If I draw on it, you can see
Yeah,
the
yeah,
doodles.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So there's two different. Strafing is just the act of moving in any of the like 8 cardinal directions since we're on a MNK, right? It's
Mhm.
one of the 8 diagonals, whatever. Um, Dodging is specifically the idea that you are trying to avoid damage. Okay, dodging is different than strafing. It is part of strafing, but not always strafing, right? We're not
Yeah.
always trying to dodge. Sometimes we're trying to maximize our damage output, in which case we don't dodge. Dodging typically influence our damage output because we're not only displacing ourselves relative to our opponent. Um, we have to counteract our own strafe. Obviously, if we have really really good mechanics, we're less likely to mess up our damage output. But even then, things like jumping and like sliding and all that is just harder to do because we're not at a consistent speed, right? The
Yeah.
idea of strafe aiming. This is mirroring anti-mirroring. Right? Strafe aiming is the idea that we are going to simplify as many elements of our movement and the opponent's movement as possible to create an extremely concise environment in which we are going to do the most damage possible. Basically, we can equate strafe aiming to conceptually the idea that we are cheating. It is basically the idea that since we are going to simplify our variables to make it to where we only need to worry about two or so things, strafe aim helps our aim a shit ton. It is literally maximizes our damage output. Um, it's important to consider that every time you strafe aim, so strafe aiming is a really good way to make you very consistent. Because if you try to draw a straight line on MNK, I mean, if I literally do this, this isn't a straight line. That isn't
Mm.
a straight line. I cannot draw a straight line very well at all, and you probably couldn't either. Obviously, in game, we don't need to be so precise that we need to draw a perfectly straight line. But if we literally hold the A or D key, we draw a straight line without moving your mouse, assuming we don't have like recoil or anything, right? Strafe aim is a reactive aim style that focuses specifically on maximizing our damage output above all else. All we worry about is reacting to our opponent's movement and moving, and our movement is influenced by theirs, focusing on our damage output, right?
Yeah.
And since it's equivalent to cheating, there are 3 primary ways. If I'm cheating and you're cheating, right? What determines what cheater wins first? Obviously not better cheats. Like, let's kind of keep that out of the equation. That's not really constructive to the argument, right? There are 3 main ways.
It is like damage, armor advantage, I guess.
Yeah, HP advantage is absolutely one of them. If I have a white armor and you have a red armor and we both have R9s, I just die, right? Like there's nothing I literally cannot kill you fast enough, right? What else? Any idea?
I mean, does like a magazine size like attachments matter in this?
Yeah, like well, simplifies to DPS output. Because maximum output, I mean, obviously, like, old R99 versus, like, fortified characters, you physically could not one-clip people, right?
Yeah.
That also ties into overall just kind of the DPS output of your weapon, maximum damage output versus, like, the expected damage output, everything like that. Because we hit every bullet, right? And I have a Sentinel, and you have an R9. Sure, I hit you 126, but I don't kill you, right? I don't kill you at all. The last concept, this is exclusive to higher time to kill games, such as Overwatch and Apex, things you're experienced in. But if we shoot first, right? If one cheater shoots the other cheater first, and there's no way to recover at all, like there's no human error or anything like we need to worry about, then that person will kill you first, right? This concept is pretty simple, but it is going to be expanded upon a lot more later. But these are the 2 mostly identifiable variables for beginners. HP advantage is obviously easy as fuck to tell. You just know when you have red armor. You can figure out the opponent has certain armor values really early on, right? DPS output requires a bit of analysis, but you're already a higher level player. You can already tell the opponent has like a PK. You're like, okay, I can do what I know how to play around that. You don't need to worry about this. You already know how this shit goes. But shooting first,
maybe we can touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, well,
like
it comes down to a lot more number crunching and understanding kind of how certain weapons interact with each other. Which does come down to a lot of playtime and just kind of studying how, understanding metas and shit like that. But
yeah, I don't think I have thought about that a lot.
We can touch upon it and work on stuff like that. There's a lot that goes into positioning and strafing and all that shit.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
So you said you already know what mirroring and anti-mirroring is, but I'm going to touch upon it for a full definition to make sure you're not missing any concepts or anything like that.
Yeah.
So mirroring is the idea. If our opponent moves to the left, we move to the right, and it's our relative perspective. Well, I said what I drew backwards. When our opponent moves to the left, or when our opponent moves to their right, we move to the left, and it's just the split perspective because we're looking at each other. It's the same direction globally, but not on our perspective wise. Mirroring is really good in Apex Legends or MK players. It is really fucking good because one. The relationship between mirroring and anti-mirroring is kind of flipped in Apex because of the existence of rotational aim assist, and because of how aim assist is intentionally designed in Apex. Mirroring makes it to where your crosshair requires 0 movement at all to readjust, assuming you can mirror somebody properly. We're going to call that a perfect mirror, because most of the time in Apex, people move the same speed. Obviously, there's Octane Sims, Maggie Ball, speed, like slide jumps, all that stuff, right? But when we're engaging in a strafe duel on a very basic level, if we're moving left to right and our opponent's moving left to right, which does happen a good chunk of the time, right? We can engage in a perfect mirror against our opponent pretty common. And that requires us to move our crosshair very little, or not at all, right? We don't need to micro adjust. Our crosshair is literally going to be on them, right? The reason why it's so good for MK players because the majority of the player base is controller. You know that. That's duh, right?
Yeah.
But controller, aim assist does not function if there is no input being given to the joystick at all. There's no aim assist at all, and I've confirmed this through players and shit like that. They have to be giving some sort of input for aim assist to kick in. Obviously, stick drift can apply that, but good controller players can control a mirror. But the problem with overall the problem with mirroring for controller players is that using such fine precision is really hard. They are really good at maxing out the joystick, but not really in the in-betweens, because it's just kind of the limitation of the, the device they're on. But we're on a mouse. Our mouse is a very precise, very easy to, like, I wouldn't say easy to use, but you know what I mean, right? You can do variables. You can do really slow, you can do really fast, you can do whatever. There's a whole line of variable, and this is why mirroring is really strong. Anti-mirroring is really strong for controller players to do, and it's what most Apex Legends players are already used to. Anti-mirroring is the exact opposite, in which is when the opponent goes to their left, you go to your left. And if you're both looking at each other, you'll engage kind of in a circular motion around each other. Typically, in FPS games, anti-mirroring is more preferred to do, because if you have some sort of skill difference, you can leverage it against your opponent. But because controller has infinite smoothness and infinite precision, because of the input, they never need to reset their mouse, or, well, their joystick. And they never need to, slow down, speed up. It kind of does it for them, especially with the added reactiveness. Anti-mirroring is really strong for controller players. I'm not saying you should never anti-mirror, because what you want to do in each situation depends on the situation and the environment and things like that. And I'll get to what kind of makes each situation better or worse, right? But when we are strafe aiming, we consolidate a couple variables that our opponents have, right? We are keeping several things consistent. We're keeping their size consistent, so they can't move backward or forward, and if they do, we can mirror them, right? We can do the exact same thing that they do. We can keep our spacing the exact same, because they move at the exact same speed. So we can keep their size the exact same. They don't grow smaller. They don't grow bigger. I mean, if they grow bigger, they'd be easier to hit, but, if they grew smaller, they become harder to hit. They become harder to hit. The distance between us is the exact same, because, we are in control. They can never go further away from us without us going forward to match it. And this overall, and also, you're keeping speed the same, right? Where mirroring is 0 speed and anti-mirroring is max speed, right? Your aim should never really be faster than your strafe, unless the opponent is faster than you, because you kind of have to aim more than you're strafing. And but assuming same speed or same maximum speed, these consolidate these factors kind of in the opposite way. Speed is max when anti-mirroring, speed is minimum when mirroring. Okay? Does it all make sense? Any questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still following.
Huh? You still following? Okay.
I'm still following. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask if you're good all that time. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of spitting at you, talking to you about things.
Yeah, that's fine. It works.
Okay. As long I'll show you some examples of what to do for each one and stuff like that. But like I said, mirroring should become a very, very good tool that you should utilize a lot in consolidating in improving your consistency. So I'm gonna show you some clips real quick to kind of show some highlights of strafe aim, and these are from myself. Okay. These are against pub players or like medium rank players. I don't play a lot of high level stuff because I make videos and shit like that. I need like videos. But these should work. Everything I'm teaching you works against good players. Bad players, you will just obliterate them. They will have no chance of anything. And good players, you will still outplay them a lot. The thing is that majority of players in this game have no fucking idea how strafe works on a fundamental level. Like, in the slightest. They will just 80, 80, 80, 80 spam, and then that's about it, because they get rewarded for it by winning a fight. And then,
I mean, that's what I learned when I was like in the 2 1v1s I did, is that there's like a hard deck. He was like the first player ever to just like actually use like strafe fundamentals against me.
Exactly.
And I was like, damn, this is what a good player looks like.
Exactly.
In a 1v1.
So here in this situation, I know you can't hear the audio, but it's fine. You don't really need to. In this situation, I have an R9. My seer is not my seer. This seer is not looking at me, right? So if I shoot him first, I have an advantage, because he has to not only turn to react to me, and assuming he's a controller player, he has to hit the 4-3 turn, and to be like a statue, right? He's running this direction, so if I were to mirror him, all I have to do is just walk in this direction, right? That's all I have to do. And in this situation, since he's not looking at me, it's completely free to mirror him, right? And then here I just, right? This is way better than standing still and trying to aim, especially because our mouse is so precise, right? Trying to draw straight lines, like I said earlier, is not hard, but it's when we require precision, it gets a lot harder. And overall, reducing the amount of input we need for our mouse will increase our consistency. Right? It's way easier to apply less force to hit somebody than it is to apply a lot of force consistently to track somebody, right? Because if we use more of our mouse, we run out of mouse pad more, right? I don't know what sensitivity you play in CM or whatever.
I'm on 800 1.4 right now.
Yeah, you're in a little bit of a medium scale. I used to play 800 1.2, which is basically the lowest I'd ever advise anybody to play. I know how played like 1.0, 1.1. Really low, but he was like a controller player. He moved like a controller player, so you know it worked, but like he sacrificed a lot of mobility for it.
Yeah, I noticed. I was watching like some Apex players that play on like 1 and 1.1. I noticed that they have like very like they only really like function like 120 degrees in front of them, you know?
Yeah, exactly. They like never let anybody get to their sides of their back, and if they do, they are kind of get in trouble. They kind of get in trouble.
Yeah, like that. I like 1.2, but that's how I felt while I was playing on it. Is that like
yeah,
I'm limiting a little bit there.
yeah.
But
I think 1.2 is a really good like comp sensitivity, or like you're trying to like be super consistent, but like it has some sacrifices.
Yeah, that's how it felt. That's why I never can like settle on it. You know, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I played 1.2 for like I think like 8 months or something like that, and now I'm on 1.7, and I feel a lot more comfortable with it. It's like the speed I get is really nice, right? But Strafe aim is really good to supplement your aim here. The reason, or actually, let me talk about anti-mirroring especially as well. So this clip right here. So you're probably asking me, when do you mirror / when do you anti-mirror? You typically want to, so obviously going through the 3 outlines I rolled out earlier, you know, DPS advantage, you shoot first, HP advantage, anything like that, right? Those are typically terms in which you want to engage in strafe aiming, but when do you pick between mirroring and anti-mirroring? It's very context dependent, and it depends a lot on kind of, you know, the factors around you, right? So in this example, right, you can see the Pathfinder now, but I did not see him in the moment because he just kind of let me walk out the room. I don't know what he was doing, right? But here, right, I know that there's somewhere there's enemies to my left, right? If I were to mirror this Wraith here, who's opening a bin, has no gun, right? Like strafe mirror is 100% free here, right? Like it's I'm just gonna one clip her for free, like no matter what. But I can either decide to mirror her and walk this way, or I can anti-mirror her and walk this way, right? This way puts me out of position, and it puts me in position, especially because we're playing on like this POI on Broken Moon, right? My back will be exposed to this section, aka the greater part of the POI. I'm peeking the window over here, the door over here. I'm peeking the stairs right here as well, right? I'm peeking like 4 different areas if I mirror her. Anti-mirror here is a way safer place because it also sets me up to be in position against this wall here. It sets me up to be, just, you know, overall in a better spot, and especially because that Pathfinder's there, which I didn't realize at the time, right? Anti-mirroring her here. Yeah. And then you see the Pathfinder's right here right now, and now I'm in a way better spot than I would be if I was over here. I would have literally run into him if I mirrored the Wraith, right? On situations on when you want to mirror or anti-mirror, it depends. There's not a lot of solid if X do Y. It more depends on kind of what you feel is better. A really good rule of thumb is if a target's running in the open and there's no cover at all that they can go to, it's typically really good to mirror them because not only are you keeping pace with them, right? Like, if someone's running out in the open field by, like, whatever train yard used to be, landslide. If someone's out, like, by landslide, like, in like, the hills out there, and you're trying to, like, track them. Mirroring is really good, because not only are you keeping pace with them, because they're running to the right, you're also running to the right, you're keeping, you know. You have to move your mouse less, and moving your mouse less is typically really good. Not always, but typically really good. It's worse for micro corrections because of static friction, but overall, being precise when moving your mouse less is easier than being precise when moving your mouse more. However, anti-mirroring is really good when trying to keep an angle for longer, right? So, for example, if there's a box here, and my opponent is here, and they are running to the box, right? It would be in my interest if I was positioned over here to anti-mirror this guy like this, right? Because if I anti-mirror him, I keep the angle for longer. Even if you only get the angle for maybe 1 to 3 extra shots, right? 1 to 3 extra shots. I mean, I don't need to say flatline shots. That's 60 damage upwards, right? If they're body shots, their head shots. That's 100. That's a knock. That's a guaranteed knock, right? Now, this is kind of just a crash course on strafe aiming in general.
Wait, I have a question.
Good.
When you are so, I think I have like a misconception of
Good.
this, but when you are mirroring, how
Mhm.
do you control the recoil? Because well, I feel like when I'm like anti-mirroring, it's like okay, I'm moving my mouse to the
Yeah, you have
left,
recoil
so
smoothing.
the
You have recoil smoothing.
yeah. So like so when you're just mirroring, do you still like do the spray pattern
You
a
do.
bit like?
You do need to do the spray. You do need to know the recoil control when you do mirror, but typically
Okay.
because you are if it's a perfect mirror, you're typically really
Yeah.
close to the target. Because if you're far away, you cannot perfect mirror target because they're gonna move. Because how
Yeah.
the video game FOV works, they don't move as much on your screen, right? So you can't
Yeah.
perfectly
Yeah.
mirror them. But if you perfectly mirror somebody, they're close enough that recoil doesn't matter, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
like they're literally too close. It does not matter. Any hip fire is going to just shit on them or any 80 or ADSing.
Okay.
This is a really good example of just kind of an off drop fight. This was pubs, but again, this can happen in ranked. This was ground loot
No.
L Star versus G7, right?
Yippee, L star. Yippee.
Well, what weapon kills faster, the G7 or the L
Yeah,
Star?
L star kills faster.
The only way this guy kills me if he like triple headshots me, right? Which is not happening.
Yeah.
That is not
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
If I do, I'm fucking slamming my desk and leaving the game, right? But since my gun has a fast time to kill, and maybe I get it first, maybe he gets his gun first, but it's a negligible enough difference that I don't have to care, right? I
Mm-hmm.
can grab the gun. The jump was bad here. Don't do that. Jumping's bad. I just mirror him, and he just dies literally instantly, like
Yeah.
instantaneously, right? That's
Yeah.
the fastest anybody could ever die, unless I landed more headshots.
It's funny, he crouches into the headshot there at the end.
Exactly. Which crouching's bad. Don't do it. Crouching is
Yeah.
only good unless you have an AR and you're hip firing it, and you want to maximize your damage output, but don't care about damage intake. But
Wait,
like, it's such
crouching
a
with AR?
because it's the only gun that matters. It's the only gun where the spread actually
Oh.
decreases
Oh, when you crouch, damn.
when you
Okay.
crouch spam. That's it, and that's the only example in which any time you'd ever want to crouch spam in a fight. And anything else, you're crouching into headshots. This clip here. So this clip here is a 1v2, and it's achieved solely through strafing. This guy, I have his angle. I'm at his side here. He doesn't know I'm here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quote unquote mirror this guy. I say mirror because he's standing still. To mirror somebody who's standing still, what do? You stand still, right? Or you recoil smooth, or you recoil control, or whatever, right? I quote unquote mirror this guy by just shooting him, right? And then he just dies, right? Now in this situation, it's important to consider here that these are two people, right? They can do 200% damage, right? If we're all cheating, and they hit every bullet, and I hit every bullet, I die, right? But the thing is that I have advantageous positioning here. I have this cover that I can utilize here. So as soon as I start taking damage from strafe aiming, I can leave. I can just stop the strafe aim as soon as I want and not worry about damage at all, right? They can't get to me very easily, right? So what I'm going to do, it's very obvious which direction they're running. They're running in a straight line this way. I can literally just mirror them by holding my S key like this, keeping my crosshair still, and they will just die. I will kill one of them, and then I have an easy 1v1 against the other person because I have high ground and blah, 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 blah. I don't need to explain that, right? So, letting it play back and just in full. And then she just dies instantly. Like, this is unnerfed R301, right?
I
But
think
still.
like the more I watch these clips, I'm like, I think I never mirror. Like
Yeah,
I think
you probably never mirror.
I never mirror. I always like I was thinking, oh, you just go top right, you know, just like anti mirror. I think that's never mirror. Okay, that's interesting.
Mirroring is really strong because controller players. I did not realize how good it was until I was like, I don't take any damage when mirroring people. Oh, that's why. But if you go mirror people in Overwatch, you're gonna fucking die because that's MK a game, right? But when game in COD also because the information I'm presenting to you, or I'm contextualizing it largely in Apex, so you can't really do like mirroring in like COD because obviously time to kill. But like let's say COD time to kill was like Apex time to kill. It still wouldn't work because the aim assist locks on for free without moving your crosshair. It literally will kill people for you for free. It will target switch to you for free. So like it doesn't work in that game. But in this game, it works great. You should mirror people a lot whenever you have the opportunity to. Okay.
I think that's something. Okay.
This clip is a really good example of me fucking obliterating a guy. This is This guy probably thought I was cheating, legitimately.
Yippee! His mirror.
I mirrored him, and the only thing I could see was his head. So guess what gets mirrored? His fucking dome, and then he just dies instantaneously, right? That guy probably thought I was cheating. That guy's death cap is headshot, 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 body shot, headshot, headshot. And even though I'm in a losing situation here, because you know I'm already cracked, right? And he has better cover than me. But it's a pub, right? I'm gonna ego chow this guy. I'm gonna fucking strafe him this guy and kill him. That's it. That's all it comes down to. My mouse doesn't move at all, and I can do this so consistently because it doesn't matter, right? It's literally just pressing A or D on my keyboard. I don't have to exercise mouse control or anything like that to do so.
Yeah.
So there. So do you have a question about strafe aim? I have more strafe stuff to talk about, but this is just one second.
I mean, basically, so the mirror is like you're close enough distance, and you don't have to worry about cover, HP, anything like that. You just do it when you know that you have like some sort of advantage, like any of the advantages you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, one of the 3 conditions that I told you about, or some other external advantage that you can kind of conceptualize. Because I can't go over every single list of everything you mirror. Yeah, right. But it's like positioning advantage. Like, oh, I can just break the mirror whenever I want and cover, right? Boom, done. If you go in a team fight, and you go, kill this guy right now. He's out of position. Kill him now, right? Just mirror him, right? Like just go mirror that guy and kill him as fast as possible. If your teammates are shooting him, that guy can't kill you fast enough for it to matter, right? He might crack you, but he's dead. You kill him armor swap, right? Or whatever. You pop a bat, whatever. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, like I said, I can't go over every single conceptualization of when to do stuff, but good. It's good basis rule of thumb to start off with.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had zero idea how to like even think. For me, it was like was like me before. Like I strafe, I die. I'm like, strafe bad? Question mark. You know, like
my aim bad. Need to aim more. My aim bad, and then you playing at something, you're like, my aim is not that bad. Every student I coach is like, my aim is so bad. I'm like, no, it's not. You were just cucking yourself so hard with your own movement. They work so against the players with movement.
That was I was like yesterday. I was like thinking like there's like situation where I'm like, wow, my aim is so bad. I need to change my sense. And then like 1v3 next game, I'm like, fuck, I guess my aim is good. And then I just realized it's just all strafes. It's just like the way I move.
It is consistency. Consistency.
The way I move is just like suboptimal.
Apex.
But I just need to know what's better, you know?
Exactly. Apex. It's really important to understand this. Apex is a hardcore semi-permadeath game. It's not obviously permadeath, but like, if you go down in a fight, you are not in that fight anymore. You can get rezzed, obviously, but the recovery mechanics around it are dog shit. Imagine you get thirsted. That's even like good luck getting rezzed in this game ever. Right? It's so bad, and even good luck getting loot after that ever. Right? One single mistake can catalyze into your death, and it's really important to understand that consistency in this game is really hard to derive because in Overwatch, for example, there's some guy being a fucking idiot. Like there's a drunk rat in the corner, and you're like, okay, he just one-shot me with, you know, M1 plus mine combo, right? And it's like, okay, I come back next life, I know he's doing that. In Apex, it's like, okay, I died. My whole game is over. I've lost, right? It's very different, and you have to play a lot safer and more reserved in some situations because of it. But that doesn't mean we should never push and never like engage. And I'll talk a little bit about that, especially in a minute. So when it comes to strafe aim is a section of strafe. It's probably the most I would say simple kind of thing to practice, even though there's a lot of, it's very dense and there's a big iceberg to it, but it's very simple on paper. If you want to maximize damage, just strafe aim. You can practice it in an aim trainer. You can practice it in game. You can do 1v1s, which I recommend as well. Playing against a person can never really be emulated through an aim trainer. You practice the raw skills in an aim trainer, like anti-mirroring. You need to practice anti-mirroring in an aim trainer, or against somebody, or the dummies in the firing range, right? Because you can anti-mirror the bots at the firing range, 100%, right? But you need to practice those skills specifically. Mirroring skills are easy. You just need to know how to do it. And then you feel it. And you're like, okay, good, easy. But dodging skills as a whole and strafing skills as a whole are a lot more complicated because it changes in every single fight in every single situation, right? There is one rule that is extremely good at just a band-aid slap-on fix. Your strafe is 3 times better now, and that is the idea of global bias. You know what this is?
Yeah, I know. It's when you... this is, I think, the thing I use the most, I think, in my gameplay. when I'm like confident and it's just like just a 1v1, it's like you strafe one way with like a bias, so like you move right, then left once and two
Yeah.
times right. Yeah. Yeah.
It is just you are making it too complicated. It is just strafe
Yeah.
in one direction more than the other direction. That is it. That is that simple.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
let's perceive it as a ratio just for emulation purpose, right? You're
Yeah.
if we count every segment, if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Let's do that. Your ratio can
Yeah.
be 0 to 9, and that could be a god strafe. That could be a really good strafe. Okay.
Ooh.
Or
Yeah.
it can be 4, 3. Or it
Yeah.
can be like 2, 1. It could be anything as long as it's one direction, more so than the other direction. Okay. The bot strafe, aka the console strafe or whatever, right? The 0-9 strafe, whatever. It's better than just 80-80 spamming. 80-80 spamming, if you play against a player with good fundamentals, or a controller player, you get fried. 80-80 spamming is really bad for like 3 reasons. Player with good fundamentals just aims down the center, you get fried. Do you know what movement acceleration is?
Yeah.
You played Overwatch, so you probably are aware of the lack of it, but movement acceleration also makes
Oh
this
my
worse.
god.
Yeah,
I got to the point where I thought the game was easier because there was no movement acceleration. So whenever you would
oh my
see
god.
targets move, you would have the same flick distance. So technically, you're only shooting a target like it's teleporting, but it always teleports the same way, you know?
That is actually I've never heard of it. I've never heard somebody describe it like that. That's actually
Yeah.
that is kind of true. But movement acceleration is important to understand not only for our own gameplay and our own movement, because it is like a physics. It is like Isaac Newton discovering gravity and like writing down the properties of gravity. The properties of movement acceleration are really important for us to understand. Every time we change direction, we are vulnerable, which is why 80-80 setting is really bad. Well, it's one of the reasons, because we are vulnerable for a lot of period of time when changing direction. 4-3 strafes can work, obviously, but typically the longer a strafe is, the better it can be. There is one rule that I want you to burn in your brain more than anything. If what you're doing is working, never change it. Do not change it. Okay?
Yeah.
This is my strafe guide that I'm working on, and I want to show you a GIF from this. Here it is. In this GIF,
Go big.
it's 30 pages so far. It's probably gonna be like 50. In this GIF here, I'm strafing really good against. He's under aiming me chronically, but I just strafe back into it because I'm like, ooh, goal bias. I need to go back and forth, right? I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that at all.
Yeah.
I can just hold that one direction and kill him, and then he literally relocks onto me because of aim assist. And you know, any MNK player would catch on to me as well if they were decent at the game. You only change if what you're doing is not working. I don't care if you're hitting the fucking silly, goofy ultra strafe where you're like in a straight line or you're yumping around or whatever. If it works, you're doing it. Dodging is a game of mental, like, gymnastics, I guess, against your opponent, right?
Yeah. I agree.
Now that being said, there are a couple things that are really good fundamentals. No jumping. Do not jump ever. Do you know why jumping is bad?
It just slows you down on fall. Yeah.
It slows you down. It is predictable. You cannot when your feet are on the ground, right? Both your feet are on the ground. You can move in any 8 directions, right?
Yeah.
When you're jumping, you cannot. But wrthcrw, lurching is complicated, and for beginners, I say to not bother with it. That's a more advanced topic we'll get into. Players like Zeto or like some of the more really good movement players know how to use it for speed conservation, but that's a way more advanced topic to cover, and most people shouldn't bother learning it right now. They need to learn how to not. They need to learn this thing. They need to learn this thing. Raw strafing is not good because people just do this with a raw strafe. They literally go with like in an infinity loop, and not only are they slower than just somebody 80-80 strafing, they don't control space at all. And in fact, during these periods where you jump and loop like this, this is a worse period to be hit in than it is when you are just moving acceleration. You have to loop. Crouching is bad. We already talked about that. You know why crouching is bad. What else? Reference my guide because I have written. Yeah, okay. Redirections obviously are good for dodging because, well, like I said, if what you're doing is working, don't change it. But the opposite is true, obviously. If what you're doing isn't working, change immediately. Do something. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you hit the yoinky splinky and jump. Do something, right? A last-ditch effort that is just random is better than just submitting to the opponent's will and dying, right? Than just getting mirrored and one-clipped, right? If your opponent is strafe aiming you, which is very rare. I don't think I've ever been strafe aimed by like a random person in this game. I've gotten strafe aimed in like my community nights and stuff like that because people like watch me and like learn from me and shit like that, right? But
yeah.
I've played against pro players. I've never been strafe aimed like ever in my life, and I've strafe aimed them and shit on them. But if somebody is strafe aiming you, what you need to do is obviously if they're strafe aiming you, you're probably at a disadvantage in some sort. The best way to break a strafe aim is to break a redirect or do a fake and like that because strafe aim, like I said, is reactive aim style. If you make yourself hard to read and you make yourself quote unquote random to them, right? Obviously, it's intentional on your behalf, but they're not in your brain. If you do a fake or a bait or you change direction at all, they have to react to it. It can be really good. It really depends on the opponent and the environment you have around you. Sometimes you can't afford to do a fake or a bait, and sometimes you just have to hard peel in a different direction, or you have to like just kind of go in a different direction overall.
How do you so we said no jumping, but
No
this
jumping.
this I feel like I end up doing a lot of like rust strafes
Okay.
in fights where I feel like that I need to get like a minuscule advantage for a moment
Okay.
to kill an opponent. Does that count as like breaking like the strafe aim, where you just
Um,
like
jumping doesn't. Jumping technically breaks strafe aim because it breaks the variable of speed, right? Because when
yeah
we're strafing somebody, the speeds are equal or at least consistent. When you mess up the
yeah
variable in it, so you alter your speed in some way, which jumping does. I would say a jump slide is better for breaking something like that, rather than just a jump because
okay
the slide is a burst of speed, right? And they can't match that. You can't do that unless you slide jump yourself. But if you're second to slide jump,
yeah
you get fried. Um, but
okay
but you're still vulnerable when jumping anyway because you go in a predictable pattern.
yeah
Raw strafing is okay to do in certain situations, but it's the exception, not the rule. Um,
okay.
and
I
probably
think I've been committing too much to it then.
a lot. Raw strafing is still okay to do in certain situations, and like I said, for advanced players and advanced strafing people, lurching is good in a lot of situations for speed conservation and overall speed stuff. Have you seen Zeto at all?
I watched him like he did like a little montage a while back. I saw that, but I haven't like
Yeah.
watched him.
Yeah, that's fine. As you've probably seen his fucking lurching shotgun bullshit, right? Zeto understands the concepts of strafing. He knows what he's doing. He's read like all the guides and shit like that. He knows what goal bias is. He knows how to do. He knows how to dodge as well as use lurching in tandem with this, which is really important. It's I prefer to go into lurching later because it's again advanced and a lot of people when they learn lurching just again do the bunny rabbit this shit, right? Um, lurching can be good at the end of strafes to
Yeah,
like if there's a wall here and you're playing against a decent opponent, like which you do, like you play,
yeah,
ALGS and shit, right? The opponent knows you're going to go back, right? So you're already going to be vulnerable when you change direction. They're already anticipating it. A raw strafe is better than just strafing in the other direction in this situation.
yeah.
Um,
It's like if you're forced to do it. Okay.
yeah, exactly. And also, if you have a speed boost, raw strafing is way better as well. Because movement acceleration is defined by the fact that we need to go from our speed to 0 and then back to our speed. So if you have a higher speed than 199, which is your speed when you have I believe when you have a gun out hip firing, or it's 170. I can't remember. I think it's side to side with no gun out. I think this is no gun. I think 171 is a gun out. But if the speed is increased by any means, that means this period is longer. We're talking like 0.2 seconds longer, but in a name assist world, that's all the difference, right? 2.2
Yeah.
seconds is half of dying to an R9 on white armor, right?
That's actually one thing I need to utilize more is like when going for like weapon swaps. When you do like when you are focused on like moving from location, it's like swapping out weapon for a minor moment to just like slide or jump or something with faster speed.
That's a really important part of just kind of I wouldn't say strafe, I'd say more move game.
Yeah, it just like makes it makes like it just makes the basics like more solid, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. I can talk to you about movement as well later, just overall
Yeah.
speed and shit like that later. Because I have a really good understanding of shit like that.
Yeah.
The the important thing to understand, the important thing especially is that when you do these fakes or anything like that, you have to make sure that your moving acceleration is fully passed. You have to make sure you don't go from 171 to 140 and then go back in the same direction, right? Your speed has to go from 171 to 0 to 171 and then you go back. Okay? You have to hit the full moving acceleration because if you do something, if you don't strafe enough, you do like a little tiny like hiccup. A good MNK player does not care. A controller player does not care at all. A bad player will over aim and go and they'll just
Yeah.
they'll
Yeah.
overreact, right? And like I said, a lot of what I'm talking about is contextualized against good players. Every time I say jumping is bad and lurching is bad, everyone goes, "But wrthcrw, it works in my pub matches," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Do whatever you want in a pub match. Fucking take your pants off. I don't care. Do whatever you want." It's like it doesn't like it's important to stay away from personal allegories and stuff like that. Like it worked for me, so X and Y, right? It's really important to stay away from that when talking about like mechanics and stuff like that, especially considering who you talk to / the environment they play and stuff like that, right? Every pro player would be like, yeah, just don't jump, keep your feet on the ground. When you keep your feet on the ground, your damage output skyrockets because you don't have weapon bloom and shit like that, and you can actually change your direction. These are the basics of dodging. Does all this make sense? Okay. I have two last things I want to talk about.
Okay.
One of them being perspective. So, well, actually, we'll start with this graph. So, this graph I love to show students because it is a very good explanation of why we strafe and kind of how we strafe. So, this is a top-down view. Okay, this is a top-down view of an opponent. Their view cone. So this is what they can see on the screen. This is their FOV. This doesn't change very much between players in this game. And then this is us. Okay. The black axis is their axis of movement, right? When two players are in a fight, they typically move left to right. They typically move in relative directions. Really good players will move in cardinal directions, and great players will move in ordinal directions, which is all 8 directions, which is diagonals. But most players move on relative directions, just left and right. They will rarely move forward and back in certain situations, but like it's not very common. Even good players have to have this relativity when aiming or when strafing, rather. Okay.
Yeah.
Perspective is the number one reason we strafe, because if we are hard to hit for our opponent, that's all we care about. So, for example, if we are over here and we do a diagonal strafe like this, we're walking a straight line. For us, it does not look like we are, but we are to our opponent, and that's all that matters. Not matter what it does matter what it looks like for us, because that can make aiming easier or harder, but it is more important that when dodging, you consider your opponent's perspective, okay?
Yeah.
So, a couple things. The closer you are to an opponent, the easier it is to escape their view cone. If you are really far away from an opponent, you are never escaping their view cone. You are never escaping their perspective, ever. You have to use cover. You have to use some sort of third-party thing to, get out of line of sight, okay? You will never be fast enough to get out of someone's LOS. They will just move their camera. Simple idea, but really important to understand. When you are really close to somebody, you displace yourself a lot more relative to them. Your speed is obviously still the same, but perspective-wise, your speed is a lot faster. Other thing to understand is that when you get closer to somebody, you are also bigger. I'm sure you know that. When you are further away from somebody, you are smaller. These are just important concepts to understand and make sure you know. And so the worst place we could ever be is in our opponent's crosshair. Obviously, that's how they shoot us. The best place we could be, this is going to be a pop quiz. Is it 1 behind them or 2 on their axis of movement?
On the axis of movement.
It's kind of a trick question. It depends on which one. Axis.
Trick me. Damn it.
Because there's no entirely right answer. There's no, this is always better than X. This is always better than Y. So
Yeah.
being behind an opponent is really strong. However, if we come into a situation, for example, let's say we're in a team fight and there's one guy out of position and we go, kill this fucking guy right now, murder him, kill him, right? And you go and your teammate comes in front here, like this is your teammate here, and you jump behind the guy, and both you guys take half a second too long to kill this guy, and then your teammate gets knocked, right? Because this is like Guild or something, right? And Guild just fucking kills your teammate, and you're like, holy shit! But like he goes down, but this guy did his job by being, well, he didn't do his job by being in a bad spot, but he did his job by recovering from being in a bad spot, right? He went 1-for-1, right? Every single strafe that this person does relative to this person also influences you to its maximum value. When you are team fighting people and you are trying to sandwich people, you always want to, well, not always, no definitive always, but it is typically more advised to act on their axes of movement than it is to be directly behind them, okay? Because this person could be strafing left, right, and to you, it's just as hard to hit as it is for this guy. I know you've played Overwatch. I know you know how hard it is to hit an Ana that isn't fucking looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is why it's
I don't
always.
know.
This is why it's typically better to be on the axis of movement, because not only are you can they not see you, they, you know, any direction this guy goes, this guy can move in 8 directions. And if they're a controller player, they can move in 360, or I think that's the correct number. They can move in like infinite, like whatever directions. But let's just assume for the sake of posterity, this is 8 directions, right? They can move left, right. Oh, that's way too thick. Up, left, right, up, down, and then the diagonals, right? What is the best possible direction this guy could go in this situation? You try and stay alive. The goal is trying to stay alive. Which way can this guy go? We'll label this like
left.
north, south. Top left?
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Top left is the only possible way this guy could go to try and survive, right? If he walks either left or right or up and down, it's a straight line. Just somebody. He's gonna get beamed. Diagonal this way, well, he's walking in between 2 opponents. I don't know what he expects to happen.
I think my dumbass would bulk it being 2 opponents and be like, why did I do that?
Diagonal this way is really good. Is really solid against this opponent because relative to their axes, it's really strong. But this opponent barely has to move their crosshair at all to hit this guy. Same thing's true for this way, and this way is the only kind of thing you're able to do. The best, like, obviously there's a piece of cover like right here, maybe you should go for this, but in an open field when there's nothing, like an Olympus field, this is probably top left, probably the best thing you're gonna be able to do. Okay. The primary exception to this is knockdown shields, because knockdown shields kind of cover an area like this, like a fucking like Spartan shield. So if you're at their axis of movement, it's still kind of hard to shoot them. Kind of have to be behind them, and and it's important to understand that they have their axis of movement when you are behind them. Knockdown shields are fucking stupid. But being on somebody's side axis of movement does come with the weakness that if they want to readjust to you, it's not that hard. A controller player can probably do it, assuming they're not on fucking dinosaur sends. But if you're behind somebody, it is way easier to continue to keep an advantage against them, right? Because this person because if they want to hit you, they have to turn. Right? No, don't erase that. If they want to hit you, they have to turn. And if it's a controller player, goddamn, you can see them turn. If they turn to the far right, guess where you strafe? Like this. You literally just walk around them in a circle, right? You literally hit like the classic Quake strafe on them. If you strafe this way, you're just going into their crosshair, right? So there's not really one that's better than the other. But in certain situations, typically the best 2 places you can be are right here or right here. You can be in the middle here, but it's typically less strong than here or here, because, you know, axis movement. Now, wrthcrw, how do we get to somebody's side like that, you might ask? Well, there's typically there's a couple ways to do it. So, dodging is what gives us the liberty to try and exit our opponent's field of view. So, for example, if we strafe like so, we strafe like this, do a fake, go like this. This opponent's crosshair looks like this. They go overcorrect maybe and go back. This obviously isn't guaranteed to happen because opponents with good mechanical skill are less likely to do so. But humans are not perfect. There's reaction time, right? I'm sure you've heard the circle jerk of reaction time upon pro gamer circles. Be like, you old people can't play video games, and then it's like, what? You can train your reaction time. I'm sure you saw Joom's thing about reaction time. Right? I don't know. I don't know if you did.
Wait, who's thinking
Joomla.
about reaction? No.
Someone was like, reaction or women are worse than men at games because reaction time, and it's like you can literally train reaction time if you're playing Widowmaker against tracers. You know where their blinks are. You hear it. You react to it instinctually, not through your eyes. Like you hear it and you know where they're gonna go based on the situation that's been played upon 1,000 times in your brain, right? It's not it's not like a genetics thing. It does influence it, but it is not the sole proprietor of it. But strafing like this, people are not perfect. People are going to miss. There is always room for error. Really good opponents will obviously still fry you, and being inside this person's view cone, you typically act from cover, or when you swing to somebody's view cone with no cover, you typically have a reason to do so, such as, well, kill this guy now, or we should fight this team, or let's wide swing this guy, things like that, right? Like you have to fight people in the open, you have to do things like that, and that's where dodging comes in. Understanding that baits and fakes like these are really strong, and basically how we break our opponent's view cone. Speed is also another way. If our opponent is, again, on controller, and we are playing Octane, and we're really fast, and we're in their view cone like this, and then we go around them, they don't know what's happening. We can hit like a wall bounce over them, over their head like this, boom, immediately behind them now, right? You can do some movement bullshit, you can super glide over them, right? You can do shit like that. Even if only for split seconds, all it takes is a split second of an advantage to maintain that advantage, right? Because if our opponent's view cone goes from this to just being slightly behind us, we strafe aim them now, and we fucking kill them, right? Because if they are under aiming us, and we start strafe aiming them, they're still under aiming us, as long as we are, mirroring or anti-mirroring or doing whatever, or we can even just be circling them, and they're dead, right? These are important fundamentals to understand. The last thing I want to cover is spacing. Spacing is very weapon dependent and context dependent, but the important thing to understand is that you can always give space up, but you cannot always gain space back. Okay. Walking at somebody is the worst thing you can do in this game. If you look at your VODs and you look at your play and you look at you dying in ranked or dying in even in like competitive play, it's a lot of because you walk at somebody. It's typically because when you walk at somebody, not only is your relative speed in perspective to them slower, you are getting bigger, which is two really bad things to have happen, right? Because the faster you are, the harder you are to hit. Obviously, being like 1% faster doesn't make you that harder to hit, but like a Horizon hitting a grav cannon is like impossible to hit. You can't do that, right? But it all depends. You can catalyze speed in a lot of different ways, but the way obviously you will have to take space forward in some situations. Like if you have a Peacekeeper R9 loadout, you need to get close to them. You can play medium close range, but you have to get in that range, right? The ways we do that, if we're in an open field and we're in the open, we take space bit by bit. We strafe like this, or not like that. Sorry, we strafe like this. We take space forward upon every we do it in small chunks. We do it in pieces like this. Okay. Or we keep our position relatively the same. Oh, they're reloading, swapping weapons. Take a shit ton of space now immediately, right?
Yeah.
And then the chill. The reloading, take space forward. Chill, take space forward. Okay. You can do it in chunks like that. The chunks depend on the situation, everything like that. You can obviously start a fight by taking a lot of space immediately. For example, if there's like a wall here, I guess it would be like this. You can like wall bounce off this wall, go boom. You're here now in their face. You started the fight by being close to them. Right? Shit like that. But like I said, you can always give up space. You can always go, fuck you, bye. You can always get close to somebody. And if they shit on you, you can go goodbye and then go diagonally backwards. Diagonally backwards is infinitely superior to diagonally forwards, because while you are moving slower, you are getting smaller really quick. And they change in speed from going side to side, where they need to actuate a good part of their crosshair, to slowing down immediately and getting smaller is really hard to account for. One of the really strong things, this is only really applicable in like in lightning gun duels, like Quake Live and Diabolical and stuff like that. You'll see people do stuff like this, they will strafe. They will strafe into their opponent's angle, and like the opponent's like looking like behind them, and then as soon as they get to the opponent's axis of movement, they just hard peel back. Because there's not really spacing in that game works really differently because lightning gun has no like fallout damage or anything like that. So if they're all the way over here, the opponent is like is extremely confused, right? Especially because how movement works in those games. You can do that in Apex especially as well. If you shot on somebody but you're really close to them and you're like, I need to get the fuck out, I need to back up. You can dodge to break the view cone and peel hard back. Okay. Those are typically spacing comes on weapon dependent stuff, so it depends on what weapons you have. Things like the wingman can work in any range. Smile. But weapons like the R301, you either want to be close or medium, so you can ADS. This range here is kind of bad for ARs in general, unless you're using the Nemesis, because I don't know why that gun just has such a good hipfire for no reason. Like the other guys.
It's so good gun.
It's a good gun, Smile. Yeah, woo! Yeah. I did not play this game that much last season, and then this season I'm like, I don't want to use Nemesis. It's just like whatever. And then I knew it was good, but I was like, I don't want to use it. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll pick it up. And I picked up one gun. And I'm like, that's how I'm dying to everybody. That makes so much sense. This gun is so dumb. Why does it exist in its current state?
Yeah, I don't know.
Smile.
It's fascinating that they put like, no. I'm making coffee right now. If you hear it,
I can't hear. It's fine though. I don't care. But yes, these are some of the fundamentals of strafing, fundamentals of understanding. Let me give you a sneak peek into some more advanced stuff that we'll talk about later. It's important that you learn how to mirror anti-mirror people and understand the conditions in which you do, because when you do, you will start shitting on people, like destroying people instantaneously. They will melt in seconds, not even seconds.
I think today I'm gonna try just hard mirroring people
as
much as I can.
The goal is obviously it's bad to go into fights to go, I'm mirroring you, die, because that's not how you strafe aim. But for learning it, it's completely fine. That's what I did. I spammed control and just learned how to do it. I just literally spammed control and was like, I'm mirroring you, die. And I was like, that didn't work. Well, I know why it didn't work, because I just, blah, 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 blah. But the mechanical requirement for mirroring and anti-mirroring, you need to play a game or go in an aim trainer and do it. Either one's fine. But you have to go with the intention of doing it. Once you get the grasp on it, then you worry more about, is it good to mirror the situation? Is it good to anti-mirror? Blah, blah, blah. Strafe aim. Do I want to focus on dodging here? Do I want to focus on... Okay? Yeah. This is an example of geometric strafing. This is a clip I hit intentionally. This was not by accident. I didn't do, and it's clip and go, oh yeah, I totally went blah, blah, blah. Like, this is something I actively thought about in the moment, okay? Obviously, again, this is pubs. I'm being very aggressive here because it's no field trios, and I'm just like gonna curb stomp these guys. They suck, but the concepts still apply in the same way that they do at pro play, just in a different way. Yeah, right? You can contextualize it for yourself, obviously, and I can contextualize it to you in those situations, but not having footage for it. So this fight, some precursor knowledge. I know there's a player up here somewhere. I have 3 kills already, and like this is like part of the last team that's in the POI. I know this guy's up here. I'm just gonna chow this guy because I want to kill him. It's pubs, whatever, right? So I get to the stairs here. I see the Bangalore here, right? I have 2 options here. I can 1, slide out here, or 2, I can go to the box here. Which one do you think is better? 1 or 2?
2.
2? Why?
You're taking the you're taking cover. You're taking the box away, and I don't know. That's about it. Okay.
2 is actually the incorrect answer here for a more
What?
Yeah. The thing is, if you think about how much space we control in this room, when we exist, we control space. When we play the game, we control space. Our character can move in a relatively, uniform amount of space in a certain amount of time depending on our speed. The faster we are, the more space we can control, right? And Octane stimming can move faster than somebody else not stimming. That's right? But the important thing is that if we take more space from our opponent, the less options they have, okay? So for example, if I slide to this box here, let's break down who controls what part of the room. The Bangalore controls, she's gonna play the console here. She's gonna play this console and control this half of the room, right? She's gonna have the door here. I don't control a door necessarily. There is a door behind me, but I can't really stop, an opponent from coming from there or anything like that. And overall, our control of the room is pretty equal, right? Nothing has changed from when I entered this room. However, if I slide out into this room, like I did in example 1, if I slide out here, look at how much room I control. I control the entire room because of her positioning right now. She is stuck in this corner, right? Now, from here, she is likely to do one of two things. She is gonna fucking run for the door, or she's gonna go behind the console here, right? What do you think she's more likely to do?
Go behind the console.
Exactly. It's like a 90% chance that she's gonna do that. A psychopath does the 10%. It does happen, but like I just kill her, right? Like I just kill her. Duh, right? This is what geometric strafing is all about. You control opponents through geometry and positioning via your own strafe, right? Because we control so much of the room, she can't walk at me, and if she does, she dies. Duh, right? But because I know the geometry of this room, you know what this looks like, right? It's a pretty thin hallway, right? It's a pretty thin area that she has to walk through, right? That means that if I am conscious of where she's gonna walk to, and I calculated, well, I didn't like crunch numbers in my head, but I was like, she's probably gonna go to the ring console if I take this room, right? Or not the ring console, but she's gonna go to the console rather. But if she goes to the console, I'm like, she doesn't have a lot of room to strafe in there. If I keep my crosshair still and I use movement prediction here, I'm going to one clip her, right? With all that in mind, I'm gonna play the clip again. Let's start. That was the easiest one clip of my life, and it was kind of impressive for like the average player. I think like a pro player could do this kind of on the regular, but not necessarily thinking about it in a situation like this, right?
I actually think like not many players do this on the regular, in like a pro setting. Like there's like I'd say there's like 2 players who have like the confidence to do this, who are not controllers.
You have to be comfortable not playing from cover. Obviously, cover is good. Don't be like, wrthcrw told me cover was bad, so I'm gonna wide swing into 3 people, like naughty. I love that guy, but I saw him swing into 6 people once. Like there was like teamers and he's swinging to all 6 of them. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Favorite, I don't watch so much naughty, but my favorite clip of him is him dropping into 3 people and just like killing them all except like the last guy and be like, oh my god, these guys are playing together or something. You dropped on 3 people and he killed like 2.5.
That's the aim trainer mindset. People will literally go into aim trainer, grind aim trainer, be insane top scores in aim trainer, and then they'll get in game and drop into 3 people, kill 2 and 3/4 people, and be like, oh, if my aim right there, if I didn't choke the 1 PK shot, and I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Just don't drop into 3 people, right?
Yeah.
90% of my coach or 90% of my students come to me and go, my aim is bad, wrthcrw. Please help me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Your aim is fine. Your aim is above standard of most players. You just throw yourself in the world's hardest situations where you have to every bullet or die, and you don't have every bullet, and you're like, oh, I suck. Like, relax, slow down, just a little bit, right? When contextualizing geometric strafing, you will literally get mind control. You will have mind control powers. You will be an evil villain being like, you will strafe in this section and I will one clip you, and then they will do that and you'll go, okay. And it is literally almost like mind control. When you control space, people will not only get nervous, but they will also be in really bad situations where it's really hard to win.
I laugh like,
what is this? LiNkzr laughs exactly like Light Yagami.
Yeah, that's how I laugh when I
yeah, you will literally do this to people. You will literally do this to people with a deeper understanding of strafe. Yeah, it's very good. There's a lot to strafe and there's a lot to talk about, but as a fundamental level, this is a really good starting point to start off with, and we will get more into geometric strafing, positioning and stuff like that a little bit later. But just start mirroring people. Just start learning how to strafe aim people. Start learning to anti-mirror people. You should still anti-mirror people in situations. But the average controller player will shit on you for it, unless you start strafe aiming in a situation that is advantageous, right? Like if we go with the 3 rules that I said earlier: higher HP, better DPS. They're not shooting at you first. They're not shooting at you. If you start anti-mirroring them, they cannot kill you unless you fuck up because of human error or something like that. Or, you know, even then, even if you miss shots, they still probably can't kill you if you have enough of an advantage, right?
Yeah.
Oh, one last note I forgot to say about strafing. You cannot strafing people that do not have goal bias, okay? And obviously, you will ask, but wrthcrw, goal bias is this thing that everybody does. I promise you, once you start looking for it, you will see it and you will be like, oh, okay, people do it a lot more than they think. They just don't realize they're doing it. Console players will just go, and then you just mirror them and they die.
Yeah.
If a player is just 80, something like this, you are better off understanding good aim fundamentals or just good strafe fundamentals that is not related to strafe aim to do this, right? Because if the person's doing this, they control no space. Not only do they control no space, if you have good aim, you just fry them in the center, right? Not only that, you can probably circle them. Not only that, you can probably jump into them and fuck up their strafe, and then they're gonna hard ADS with a 301 and stand still, and then you circle them, and then like blah blah, right? It's but you can hypothetically strafe people that have no global bias, but it's really hard, and I do not recommend you do so because you are putting so much energy into target reading because they're doing it so fast that it's just better to exert good fundamentals. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The next things I'll cover with you, I'll cover geometric strafing. We'll start to tackle it. It's a more advanced. It's a really advanced and complicated thing, but we'll start to tackle geometric strafing. We'll talk a little about excuse me. We'll talk about recoil smoothing a little bit. I know you like recoil control, but recoil smoothing still has a place to exist in tandem with recoil control.
Yeah, of course.
And jitter aiming. I don't know if you want to jitter aim. You don't have to. Not required at all. But if you want to, I'll still talk about when to do it and stuff like that.
The only time I jitter aim is when I'm shooting a target at like a distance and I can't move at all, and I just go.
Jitter aiming is very bad, to be honest with you. It is not as good as people think it is. It's only good for targets at like 400 meters away. Recoil control is really hard, and like bullet drop, it's just like making the elements consistent is a lot better. And then we also start to cover lurch a little bit more as a constructive element rather than a deconstructive one for your gameplay. And then I also sent you a playlist with some scenarios you can practice as well. There's a couple scenarios in there that there's not many scenarios in there that where you strafe, but they emulate strafe. Like revolving tracking, just it puts you in an 8-figure loop against 2 targets, and you have to aim at the center of them. And you just aim around them as you go around them like this. It's really, really good for practicing strafe. I'll also talk to you about edge tracking, some more strafe stuff relating to defending, because a lot of what I've contextualized to you is attacking, and you have to attack people to win. You can't win by not attacking. Very rarely will you win by just holding a position. Like you can, but the opponents have to be really bad or make a really bad mistake, or you're like finishing them off, right?
Yeah.
I'll
or
talk
they're forced to make a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. But it's rare. It's you have to attack people to win, for the most part. But we'll talk about defending. We'll talk about I'll talk about some aim related stuff. And yeah, you have any questions at all?
Well, we kind of touched on it a little bit. Like people who are like further away, I feel like I don't know why I struggle shooting at like 100, 150 meters at like people who are moving into like one direction. Like I don't understand where my aim like flatline 301 kind of stuff.
Okay. So typically what I advise, so when an opponent, so if we draw like this,
Let's see if I have like a decent example. I might have from yesterday.
Yeah, if you have one, I can show you. But this is a good example of what I tell students. So recoil smoothing is good for target because recoil smoothing gives us Oops, I cannot draw a straight line. Recoil smoothing gives us pinpoint precision to a target or an area. It's really good for holding a single peak, a tight angle, or a target that's like moving in a straight line, right? It's really good for that reason. But recoil smoothing abuse doesn't really exist for targets that are moving on the X or Y axis, or sorry, on the X axis. When a target's moving on the Y axis, that's like horizon lift. Typically, what I advise my students to do is to understand that if you want to hit targets like this, so a target has to be moving like this for you to recoil smooth them. It's moving at you, and they have to be moving in a straight line at or away from you, or in a diagonal, in a rather tight diagonal, right? In perspective to you.
For the example.
Let me see.
I mean, I guess I'm not, my crosshair is not even like on them there, but like for some reason, I don't know like what I do in terms of like I feel like that should have been like 80 at least, you know? Like if I had a nemesis, that's 120. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's a like here I would like extremely recommend practicing like recoil smoothing for this example for this specifically, right? Because this person's not moving very much on your on your x-axis, aka left, right. They're climbing up. They're climbing up, and then running kind of like that, which is not a lot of movement. A target really far away is not going to exhibit a lot of x-axis movement, right?
Yeah.
There is for specifically recoil smoothing, so if a target if a target is let me finish this previous thought first before I get into that. But if a target's moving on the diagonals like this, you just recoil smooth, right? If a target's moving in any other way, right, like this, you strafe aim them, right? If you're trying to hit them, obviously, strafe aiming this far away typically doesn't have negative associated with it. You should just mirror anti-mirror this person depending on the environment, terrain, stuff like that, and you don't need to recoil smooth because you do already get recoil smoothing by moving your mouse, right? Even if you mirror them, you're gonna have recoil smoothing anyway. But you have to move your mouse less. Okay. Yeah, all recoil smoothing is that it requires you to move your mouse at 3.7 degrees a second. So if you're moving your mouse like this, you have recoil smoothing. You move your mouse like this, you have recoil smoothing. You move your mouse like this, you probably don't have recoil smoothing. You're too slow. You need to actuate it decently. But if target's really far away, then you have then you basically have recoil smoothing no matter what. But in terms of specifically abusing recoil smoothing, we can view it kind of like a strafe aim form because we're maximizing damage above all else. We're not worrying about anything. I made a chart. I made a chart that kind of explains how to properly strafe aim. Not strafe aim. How to properly recoil smooth against targets. When targets are really far away, you need to do less strafes because basically what you're doing when you're trying to abuse recoil smoothing is you're just opposing your camera to one side and then back to the other side by strafing 80 strafing in place. And that basically creates like a funnel. It creates like a funnel between the edge of your strafe to the other edge of your strafe where you just shoot in a straight line at them, right? If a target is closer though, you need to move more because they take up more of your screen. So to get recoil smoothing on them, you need to move more, right? This is affected by scopes. So each scope you have will change what you like, kind of how it feels to actually get recoil smoothing. Because again, if something's bigger, it requires more movement to track, right? And if they're smaller, they require less movement to track. So, like a 2x is gonna feel way different than a 4x, like on a 2 to 4, right? You only toggle it in the firing range and try it on the hill and see how it feels on each one, right? And then a 3x is gonna be somewhere in the middle, and like a 1 to 2 or whatever, right? Here, it's important to feel out, especially with each scope. It takes a little bit of practice in the firing range, and it is you can technically see it as a form of recoil control, right? But here you're trying to exercise recoil control, and a lot of your mouse movement is kind of all over the place, right? It's not solidly in one place. Let me slow down. I go too far.
I mean, it's right here. It's right here.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Am I too early or too late? Or is it?
It's like right here.
They have to push into.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah. If you look at your overall crosshair placement.
Yeah.
Right, you're under, you're over. Now you're on, but he jumped, and you do hit a couple shots because he's jumping over the fence, right? And this is probably because of recoil control, because the gun's gonna sway as you shoot it.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I would literally just say abuse the fuck out of recoil smoothing in this situation. I am a really big advocate for it and how strong it is. I have a student. Wait, hang on. I can show you an example. I have a student who does a very good.
Mm-mm.
I'll type his name. This is one of my students, VOD. He is a wannabe pro player. Where is his? A couple of really good recoil smoothing clips in here. And you can see here that he just abuses the fuck out of it because he sat there and practiced what I've told him to do, right? He's hitting one clip after one clip and sure these are pub players, but it still is an exercise of the practice, right? This is just strafe aiming. He's just strafe aiming somebody here. There's another clip here I think he has where he's practicing it really well. This is just strafe aiming. This clip right here.
Go.
Where he's just hard strafe aiming, or he's just hard recoil smoothing abuse on these people, and this is just a good one clip. But this havoc kill especially right here is a really good example with Iron Sight Havoc, and then the R99 is a crack on purple armor at that range, which is kind of insane, right? And this isn't not recoil control, but you know it's its own thing to practice in tandem with it, right? Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Do you have any questions about at all? But you have my time. You can ask. It doesn't have to be Strafe related. It can be like anything.
I don't have anything right now. My brain's like processing right now.
Yeah, there's a lot to go over. I'll put the full VOD on YouTube if like as an unlisted video or something like that if you want to go back to it later in the future.
Yeah, that's good.
And what I want you to do for your homework is I want you to clip every fight that is like really good in terms of Strafe. If you think you did something really good, I want to see it so I can be like, yes, that was good, or no, you got lucky because your opponent was dog shit, right? Or also in fights that against like good players, I'm just if you feel like it was an actual fight against a good player that wasn't just like all three guys jumping on them, you can clip it and I'll tell you how you could do Strafe better and stuff like that, because a lot of it is improving from playing the game, right?
Yeah. But I'll remember to maybe clip like one thing every 7 years.
Do you have?
I'll try.
Okay. Do you have replay buffer on your OBS? Or like
no,
shadow play or anything?
I mean I always stream my gameplay, so it's like there somewhere. But like I'll find it eventually, you know.
I'll find it eventually. That's a good motto to live by.
Ready. In terms of like someone teaching me, you know, it's like I'm going a distance here, you know.
Yeah, I just like helping people. I love doing I love doing this. The reason I did it because I literally started coaching because Overwatch coaches were fucking scammers.
Yeah,
and there were some good ones, not gonna lie, but there were plenty of not good ones. And in the Apex scene, that is still true. And I'm just like I'm doing it out of spite in a good way.
Yeah, it's a good kind of spite. Like hating for a good cause, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's all I got for you. Any questions or anything before I go?
No, I really appreciate the help.
No problem at all.
Really informative. Yeah.
No problem at all.
I'm gonna start mirroring people now. Let's go.
Hell yeah! Right. Fucking mirror all the controller players and watch them do nothing. They will just die. They will fall over and die. It's actually hilarious how much it works.
So like if I know wait, actually if I'm I have a contest against 2 controller players, right?
Okay.
The best thing I can do is just to mirror them.
In a straight fame sense, yeah. That's the best thing you do is mirror them to maximize your damage output, while not necessarily the best way to maximize your damage output without taking a shit ton of damage is to probably mirror them. But in a team fight ways, you know, there's obviously a lot more that could probably be done, but in an individual what you can do basis, get on their off angle and mirror them, and then they will fucking die. Or even if you have to force a mirror because you have to kill a guy right now, just mirror him instead of anti-mirroring.
Yeah.
Mirroring should be your default rather than anti-mirroring be the default in every other FPS game because of rotational aim assist. Yay!
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what been killing me a lot in Apex is the I think if I watch my VODs, I never mirror, right?
Yeah, nobody does. Nobody does smile.
Yeah. Phew.
And if you once you are enlightened on Strafe, you will watch other people and be like, what are they doing?
I can't wait.
Wait, actually, hang on. I have a clip I want to show you. I tweeted about it, and I tweeted how this is fucking dumb as hell.
Let's see.
Strafe. There's 2 examples I'll give you. Oh yeah, this is a really good clip. I just want to show off because it's just a really good example of Strafe. This guy lands on me behind me here, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go straight for the cover, and he just gets obliterated, right? By just good Strafe here. Like,
yeah, like this is the stuff. Like this is when I was playing against like Hardeki that I feel like Hardeki was doing.
yes,
Is where he was like strafing to cover,
yeah.
and I was like, "Fuck, man, get back here!" And
It
then
is.
I chase him, and he
Yeah,
had
and then
like
he shits on you.
reloaded, and he's
Yep.
reloaded, and it's just the same thing. I'm like, "Fuck, man!" It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I felt like, oh, I felt like a fool.
Sometimes in your goal to play cover or something like that, it's also important to understand that cover is cover is always better than dodging. Dodging is not a guarantee that you'll take less damage. You will take less damage, but not as much as cover. Because how much damage do you take in cover? 0%. Take 0 unless you are peeking in some way, but that's not the same thing, right? But dodging makes you take anywhere between like 1% less damage to like 90% less damage. Obviously, sometimes opponents will never hit you, but that's very rare against good opponents, right? But this guy, I did not want to mirror this guy. I just wanted to go to cover, but I wanted to deal damage while going to cover, and he just kind of walked the same way. It's very coincidental that I mirrored him. This will happen. It's sometimes the goals will align. He will be like, "I'm killing you," and you're like, "Okay, I want to cover, bye." And then this guy will just not do anything and die.
Yeah,
right? And
then
then
I think like it's crazy.
This Wraith here, I get her angle here. Mirror, she's dead.
Yeah, mirror. Yeah, like why make it hard for you? And like he doesn't have like the crosshair on you, so it's just like easier killing them.
Look, this was at LAN, by the way. This is ALGS and LAN. I don't know if you've seen this clip before. This last 1v1 is embarrassing.
They always
Climbs
are.
up.
Yeah.
No global bias in Strafe. It's just 80-80 spamming here. He has 100 damage lead right here, right?
Yeah.
And he loses it because he does a diagonal jump at the opponent.
Yeah.
And he just dies.
Yeah.
This is insane to look at, right?
Yeah.
Like
I saw this live. This was embarrassing.
That's so and no disrespect to the players at all. It's just kind of players don't focus on the mechanics like this, right? They focus more so on they're like, my aim could be better. I could like blah blah blah, right? Like this is a part of.
I mean, I was like one of those people in Overwatch. It's like, like I did listen, I did not have a single coherent thought about like movement or positioning. My thought process was that it doesn't matter if I'm being like flown into the air by a Winston. It doesn't matter if like there's like 17 like things like stunning me, crossing me, blinding me, flashing me. Like I still hit the shot, right? Like that was my thought process.
Yeah,
and it still worked to an extent.
I mean,
but it was really inconsistent.
Unironically, if you're playing Overwatch and there's like a Moira on you, just mirror the Moira. What's she gonna do?
Yeah.
Suck you more? No, right?
Yeah, it's just like you just make it. But I didn't think of that.
Yeah, of
you
course,
know, like
of course,
if Moira's sucking me, I'm fucking 80-80, fucking left,
yeah,
right, left,
making
right.
aiming as hard as possible for yourself. You're griefing yourself, right? You should just mirror the Moira, and then like she can't do more damage to you at all. You just kill her.
Like I would see like soldier players that were like decent at the game, like stand still, and I would be like, Psst, why are you standing still? Lol, noob. You know,
yep.
Like
This shit is applicable in every high time to kill game. This is why I like high time to kill games. I don't like Valorant that much because it's like one tap. Okay, you can still dodge and there is still strafing in that game, but it's not the same, and I don't like it. I like it more like this when you can mirror and anti-mirror people. Look at this clip from Guild. This is Guild fighting LG. LG,
yeah, I remember.
Famous,
oh my God.
famous triple roller team, baby. Running at fucking
dude,
Dark Zero, dying to Zainu, or not Zainu, to Zero 1v3ing them here. Look at I think it's Niezels.
I don't think whoever it is.
This guy. This guy! Look at that strafe! That 80-80 strafe, look at that. Oh! Guild, also 80-80 strafed, but Guild's 80-80 strafe was a little bit longer, and therefore it was better.
he had tiny stutter depth there. He had a tiny
I'm
stutter
just playing.
depth.
I'm just sitting in the smoke. I'm
Like, this is so...
Oh my god, it's. I remember this because I remember you tweeting it, and it was just like I felt your pain in this one so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so... Yeah. Imagine what players could do in this game if I was there to help sometimes. Like, I'm just like, please. Just one session and I'll fix everything, please. But...
Yeah, I mean, it's like a pro player ego is crazy, you know.
Oh, I know.
Like,
Oh, I know.
yeah,
But...
it's funny.
Wait.
The only reason I'm asking for help is because I don't know. I don't know. It's
I
have to admit that I don't know.
I'm thankful you trust me to help you. So yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna help Deeds when Serial was coaching tripods, but then he stopped coaching tripods, and I'm like, I guess I can now. I guess I'm not now. Whatever. So I don't know.
I mean, I've been like following your stuff a little, so I know that you know what you're talking about. You know.
Yeah, I think anybody that follows me knows how I conduct myself and things I talk about. So
Yeah, it's good.
yeah, that's all I got for you for